Shout out to the Powers of X-Men podcast, Dayspring and Flinkman.
What's up, familia? We're here with a very fun episode, Power of X-Men. We're going to discuss the top 10 most wanted villains we want in X-Men 97. And in order to do this episode, I had to bring two of my favorite Canadians on. So even though we're going to be discussing villains, please expect a very polite conversation.
God, I've never been polite a day in my life. You know that more than anyone.
So that voice is, of course, Hammy, returning back to the podcast.
Woo! Yeah, excited to be here. Excited to talk about some mean people, and more excited to listen to you guys kind of argue and complain about who should be on the list and who shouldn't.
Bitch, okay. That's because before we hit record, me and Latvarian Lad, spoilers on who's our other person on the podcast today, Latvarian Lad.
What up, everybody? I'm here getting ready to argue with Dayspring.
Well, okay, we weren't okay, listen, we weren't arguing. Well, actually, you know what? How about this? We were getting along just fine.
That's
had
true.
Our little list here.
Yeah.
Until you were like, oh, I think there should be another villain on this list. I was like, okay, that does make sense. Let's eliminate this one. And that happened to be Sean's favorite one out of a bunch.
Yeah.
He's like, excuse me, no.
And I will point out that we made the list and Dayspring literally just put all of mine. We agreed 5 each. And he just put mine 10 to 6. And then he put his 5 to 1. So yeah, you could see the bias already coming in.
No, I said
surprised.
I only had one request for number one, and you can order the rest. And I believe you said, because you're so polite and Canadian, you were like, I don't care, don't worry. I was like, okay.
That's actually exactly what I said. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I was drunk at 90s Con this entire time, so I may or may not remember conversations as they happened.
We've got Hammy here to be the unbiased voice of reason between our list.
That's right. You brought in the number one X-Men expert for sure, 100% knows all the stories about all these characters. So get ready for a little lesson, boys.
Are you taking notes?
Am I taking notes or do I have notes? Those are two different questions. Do I have a Wikipedia page open for every character? Who knows? Not me.
Who knows? Let's see. Okay, so did you guys see the X-Men 60th anniversary panel on Thursday by any chance? It's behind like a paywall, so if you didn't, it's fine.
I did.
You did?
I caught it.
I did not, because I'm pretty sure it ran from midnight to 3 a.m. on a Thursday or UK time. So you know what I did? I listened to your podcast the next day.
Wow, that's the best answer ever.
Well, I listened to it twice, so there.
Boys, stop it. How dare you be fighting over me and my affections here?
Oh my God.
Someone get Ian on here. Ian would love it.
Right.
I know. He's going to be so mad that we were kicking without him and other just concerns he has. But, okay. So we found out in the X-Men panel that X-Men 97 is going to take place a few months after the events of the finale for the original X-Men animated series. Xavier is off in space. Mutant acceptance has actually become a thing in the months following Xavier's departure. There's a public sympathy for the mutants, and we're going to see a tide changing. It's not going to be just all hate for the X-Men. And this makes the X-Men call into question, why have they been fighting? If now they're finally seeing that acceptance and that tolerance, maybe it's time for them to live their lives. So we know that's going to be a plot point that affects Jean, Rogue, and Gambit. And we also know that someone is going to come in and blow up everything good that's happening with the mutants, and that person is going to be Mr. Sinister. So I think it's safe to assume Sinister is going to be the big bad of the first season.
Well, it makes sense too, because he's so big in the comics right now that I think everybody probably assumed he'd be the most obvious choice to come back. But what will be interesting is if, and I think you said it, is he going to be that kind of dark, one-dimensional or more one-dimensional villain that he was in the old cartoon, or is he going to be the campy, fun Sinister that we see today?
Do you boys have a preference on which version to see?
Yes, campy fun Sinister. Duh.
I don't know. I'm going one note, creepy Sinister who like Homer Simpson walks into the bushes kind of vibe. Like I want maniacal serial killer Sinister. I do love campy Sinister.
I hope we see more of an evolution for him in the series. Maybe loosen him up a little bit and see some of that camp over the top factor. But I definitely think if we're going to be doing a continuation of the animated series, it can't be this complete 180. He has to be that really creepy Sinister, at least for a little bit, and then they can migrate him somewhere else. But it's when I think of that, when I heard that, I was like, okay, what are some of the big Sinister stories from the 80s and the 90s, assuming we're going to be doing those kind of stories? And one, it's going to be the Mutant Massacre, his involvement with that, and the Marauders. Two, it's going to be Inferno with Madeline
a bit dark, the Mutant Massacre for a kid's cartoon, but let's see.
Did we see the same cartoon? That the opening credits has Jubilee running from a crowd that wants to lynch her, and she's grabbing on and her eyes are terrified. So the Marauders and the Mutant Massacre, Inferno, or Executioner Song. I think those are three of the big stories we can see. And I think the Legacy Virus and Madeline Pryor stand a really good chance of coming into fruition here, which they were touched upon in the original series.
I think they'll probably do Inferno is the most no, I take that back. They'll probably do the one with Strife.
Well,
Executioner Song?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing. So I was trying to think about, because the X-Men, the original series, was always an allegory for mutants and, and their placement in in society and all how that translates into oppression in the real world. And I'm like, okay, so they're experiencing really good publicity now. Everyone's on the side of the mutants. What's something to really turn that tide? A pandemic or a terrorist attack, So Inferno, attacking New York, assaulting New York, that will definitely turn the tide. Or a virus that you know nothing about that's being spread through the public. I mean, we lived through a pandemic, so we know firsthand how that happens. And we also know the Legacy Virus, there is an allegory with the AIDS epidemic as well. So I think those two stand a really big shot, especially since it's Sinister. And how will Sinister destroy the X-Men and all that public and all that goodwill? I think it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where it's going to go. I hope that's where it goes. I think Sinister being a geneticist and then having Legacy Virus stuff and having, Strife be a part of this would be really exciting. I just wonder, do you think like that's obviously Executioner Song is like incredibly popular, but do you think that's a place where this show will go?
So it depends on the positioning of Xavier, because Xavier is obviously a really big part of Executioner Song. That's not to say that, like they did with Days of Future Past and doing the substitute with Bishop and Kitty, that they can't sub out Xavier for like Cyclops or whoever, Magneto. I think, though, you would want Xavier for it. So we've already talked about this on the show a couple of times. We know that a season 2 is confirmed, but I don't think it's because, wow, there's so much popularity already ahead of the series. It's just how animation is produced and ordered and budget costs. So I think the first half will be setting up something like Executioner Song or Onslaught. But I think episode 12 or whatever the marker is going to be for the end of season 1, Xavier will be back with the X-Men, and then we can set up Executioner Song, and then we'll dive into it for the second season. If I was a betting man.
I think also too what you'll see is probably like they'll base storylines on kind of these big comic events from the past, but they won't be exactly the same, right? Because it's a different canon from the comic books. They'll pull from it, but they'll make it more appropriate for the cartoon. And like you said, if they're missing a character, they'll just replace with somebody else. So you'll probably see something based on that or Inferno, but hopefully also with little kind of episodes of the week dotted in so we can see some of the other villains that are going to appear on this list.
Yeah, cameos.
And I have to say, she's not on our list, but I was thinking about it while I was coming back from yoga. Emma is going to have a major role here. And I think she is going to be antagonistic. We know she's already confirmed, but I think she's going to be leading the Hellions. It may end with her, turning over a new leaf, but I think Emma is going to have her journey from villain to hero. in this series. They would be stupid not to focus somehow on Emma.
I mean, I'm gonna go on strike if Emma doesn't turn into a hero through this series. So I don't know what I'm striking from, but I'm gonna
not from the show. You're gonna keep watching the show no matter what. Sure.
But I will definitely create a sign and march around with it to show my displeasure if that's not what they do.
I love how that's your solution for showing your displeasure. You're so polite, you Canadian.
I'm gonna make a sign and hold it up in my own home where no one can see it.
I'm a little angry, eh? Yeah. Slightly inconvenienced, don't you know?
Okay, so let's dive into our top 10 most wanted X-villains for X-Men 97. Folks at home, please slide into our DMs. Let us know which X-villains you want to see. You can comment on the YouTube channel. You can hit up Sean or Hammy or myself. Let us know your feels on all of them. I'll kick us off at number 10, and number 10 is Mojo. I think we have to see Mojo return to the X-Men animated series canon.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I would have liked to have seen Campy Sinister. I agree with you guys. I don't think they're going to do it. So this is the perfect solution, is to have Campy Mojo, some, two-part thing in Mojoverse, just really over the top, bring in Dazzler, bring in Longshot, and just have like a really kind of wacky side adventure.
Yeah, it depends on what they want to do, because Mojo in the original series sort of had his own plot and kind of marched to the beat of his own drum. I would love it. First of all, they need to bring Peter Wildman back. I believe that was voice of Mojo. He was phenomenal. Secondly, the biggest thing they need to do with Mojo, and this is like such a big thing from the comics, the X-Babies. We have to see the
the word "have to."
They have to do it.
Take umbrance with the no. I don't think so.
No, come on. The X-Babies, it is such an iconic story tied to Mojo that at least they have to be in the background. And I agree with what both of you were saying, that we're going to get plenty of cameos in the background. That goes without saying. And again, for folks at home, there is going to be the main plot, which I think we've all kind of agreed will be like an Inferno, Executioner song, whatever. But like the original series, we'll have a lot of one-off episodes that all sort of gear towards it. So I would love a Mojo world with the X-Babies. I think that would be incredible. Do you guys have a favorite X-Baby?
No, Baby Yoda? What? No. I have I can't talk about this because I hate all children things. Like, I hate young actors. I hate anything that's like the Muppet Babies. I wasn't a fan of the Muppet Babies.
You didn't even like the Muppet Babies cartoon?
No.
Really? Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
No.
You said Muppet Babies and I heard Muppets, but you didn't like Muppet Babies?
No. And like Batmite for the DC comics, like all that stuff just really kind of bothers me.
Really?
So I'll just say none. But I hope you get it.
Babies cartoon intro is fucking iconic. What is wrong with you?
Did I miss the part where I said I didn't like the intro, or the part where I said I didn't like the show?
This is what I don't understand.
Those are different things. Oh my God.
He is in a mood today.
I'm only here because I wanted to meet Sean, I'll be honest.
We're just gonna kick Dayspring out, and we'll just finish the list ourselves.
No, go on about your Muppet Babies or your X-Men.
Okay,
babies.
so I hope they do like an intro, like Muppet Babies parody with the X-Babies.
Okay, could be fun if in the Mojo verse they make like a show, and then he redoes the classic intro, but with the babies. Like,
yes, I agree. Yes. If any kind of parody with the babies, that's what I would love. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's not going to happen, but you could dream.
I stand Boda. Boda Miles' one requirement was, if you're going to come work on the series, you have to be a fan of the X-Men. And so I have faith that everyone who's working on this, and if they do bring in Mojo, again, this is just us purely speculating, but if they do bring in Mojo, I want the fucking X-Babies. You have to do the X-Babies.
So we move to number 9 before we
No, because I'm not done. No, because I'm not done with what else I want out of Mojo.
Okay.
Point
what else do you want? I think we're gonna be on the X Babies the entire.
I'm just mad Marvel Legends packed up that stupid X Baby Wolverine and called it a 4-pack.
Okay, listen. First of all, rude. Second of all, we were originally supposed to get the X Babies in series. Oh God, it was Mojo Wave 12 of the Marvel Legends Toy Biz series.
I'm so sorry I brought.
But because oil processing
and the stock markets were down, so we didn't get the X Babies.
Yeah, so then they had to raise the prices from $7.99 to $8.99, and so from production standpoint, we couldn't get the X Babies. Fine, I'll move on from the X Babies. I want a long shot mini series, the Ann Nocenti. I want an adaptation of that Art Adams and Nocenti miniseries. I want a straight adaptation, hint at Spiral, her role in Longshot's past, who she was, and her future. I would absolutely love that. We're big fans of that.
And I think you made the good point on your last episode, which is, Disney can just do a spin-off and it doesn't have to be a full series. Like, it'd be great if there was, an episode in Mojoverse, something happened, it's not completely resolved, and then do an hour special, right? And then you can have a different tone, you can have the different characters, focus on Dazzler and Longshot. Dazzler's probably going to win the vote, so it'd be a great timing to, I don't think they'd produce it that quickly, but in an ideal world, they could produce it really fast, have it released when she's, at her high.
And then the final thing I would want out of a Mojo story is Spiral versus Psylocke. Now, I don't know how they would do Spiral versus Psylocke, especially given everything with Betsy being back in her original body, and we kind of already saw that version of her already in the animated series. But let's see. In them, I trust, but I think if you're going to do a Mojo story and Spiral's there, give us Spiral versus Psylocke.
We're sneaking Spiral in the list through Mojo.
There you go.
Exactly.
A loophole.
Okay, I'm done talking about Mojo. You can take us to number 9.
Okay, number 9 is a swap out because we just added Hammies in to replace.
No, hold on.
There we go. No, we're done. No. Straight into the deep end, Mike.
No. But I didn't choose who got replaced. I just want to say that.
That's true. But we did.
I was like, thank God someone gave a new character here. Let's omit this one.
Yeah. Would you like to reveal it?
It is
everyone's favorite Ginger, Arcade.
I can't believe we didn't think of this one.
No, when Hami said it, I was like, yeah, that's much better than somebody I put on my list. So absolutely swap out. We swapped out Omega Red, by the way. So if any Omega Red fans out there, take umbrage.
I'm kind of glad that we did because I didn't really know what to say about Omega Red. Because again, Omega Red is one of those big iconic characters, but he's already gotten his dues, in my opinion, on the X-Men animated series. And if you're going to bring him in, that's great. But I would like to see their. So
for me, it was really a very selfish way of ensuring Colossus came back into the show. So that's why I put him on the list. But Arcade is a better choice. So why don't
We're not going to touch Russia in this X-Men series. We ain't doing it. Not this time, Mama. Sorry.
I'm curious what kind of I want them to do like a Murder World epic, episode, just campy, over the top. Same like with Mojo. You know what you're getting into. You don't need to put it doesn't need to be anything more than it already is. And I'm actually shocked, given his popularity, especially with the video games during that era, that Arcade did not appear in the animated series. I believe he was in X-Men Evolution, but he was not in the X-Men animated series proper.
I just think it's same thing with Mojo. Honestly, it's kind of similar. Like, it would just create a really good one-off episode that I think would be an incredible place to send fans into this like world of nostalgia. Like, we could get the X-Men in the arcade cabinet, like in the X-Men arcade cabinet that we're so used to, have 4 characters, have them have to kind of like go through there, or just an episode where it's just a bunch of dumb games that they have to play to save whoever, probably Storm, and then maybe Dr. Doom is there. Like that incredible story where Arcade, is Arcade captures Storm, right?
I believe Arcade captures Storm.
So just Dr. Doom and Arcade teaming up. I mean, I'd be here for it. I mean, anybody knows that.
It's that iconic cover of Storm being held by Dr. Doom, and it's Uncanny X-Men 140.
Yeah. Okay. God. Okay.
Yeah, it's Uncanny X-Men 145, which, by the way, was recently homaged too, because Storm and Doom have a dinner in that issue, and it was homaged in X-Men Red. Listen, so we've spoken with the Lee Waltz ad nauseum about this. Storm needs plots in the X-Men animated series. That is their biggest regret. And I would say if you look at editorial, like the actual comics during the time, Storm does not have a lot. She has a presence, but in terms of like defining stories for her, not too much. And we know that in the movies, she didn't really have a major role in the way we wanted to. So give Storm as many plots as possible. I would love to see the adaptation of 145, as well as her and Forge in that story. I was gonna say yes.
Do you know what? Do you also want? She better have some over the top lines when she flies up, starts climbing down the lightning, and just goes on a monologue.
I hope stuff like that. Here's my fear on stuff like Storm's over the top monologues and Beast quoting like Shakespeare and stuff like that. Is it emblematic of a time and a place of how narratives were said? How do you translate that into modern television? Not pay respect to it, but don't also make the show feel antiquated. I am not envious of the X-Men 97 team, but so far so good. Everything we've seen and heard has been good, but fingers crossed. But she does need to be over the top. I mean, we need to get her say, "I will meet you at your Uber," something like that. Whatever. I mean, she can't say that because you see, that's why I couldn't be a writer, because that's it. I would put in that line and it would be cringe. But we do need her to be.
And speaking of that, do we know, is it like literal 90s, or is it going to be like this like floaty timeline where it's like,
I don't know.
They may have iPhones. You don't know what gen it is, but they might have them.
We are not going to see you don't call it X-Men 97 and have everyone have iPhones. I hope it's
they can get away with it.
90s.
Well, they already had FaceTime on the show. They already had FaceTime. Like they've had the technology we have already. So it could be
but I meant
nebulous.
more like, more recent references
to like iPhones and stuff like that.
Like the Sex and the City sequel, where like the first episode they're like dropping as many things to show that they know that it's 2022 as possible.
Oh, it's cringe. And Miranda's like, "What's Instagram?" I'm like, "Bitch, if anyone would know what Instagram and podcasting is, it would be Miranda. Miranda would be all up on the Vulture podcast or the New Yorker podcast and sending it to the girls." But
stay tuned for our Sex and the City podcast coming up.
Spin off.
Yeah. X in the City.
X in the City.
But I think Arcade. Oh, that was really good. I did.
4 minutes later.
We just need a fourth, though.
Oh, that's Ian. It's Slayerfest. 100%.
But then who's who?
I don't know.
I'm Miranda.
Are you Miranda?
Really?
Yeah. No.
Who do you?
I mean, Dayspring is definitely Carrie.
I am self-destructive.
God,
I'm an
100%.
alcoholic and self-destructive. Yes. Who are you?
Clearly, Charlotte.
You're Charlotte.
Nice and sweet and keeping you all together behind the scenes.
That would make Ian Samantha. Yeah.
That actually tracks. I think we figured it out. Yeah, that works.
Ian, you're Samantha. You're coming on. We're doing that.
Oh
when we were brainstorming what we wanted to do, like a collab a couple months ago, Hammy, we should have said with Ian, we should have said we'll do a Sex and the City rewatch. I don't think that came up.
Well, there you go. We're launching it here. It'll be birthed from this episode.
But Arcade.
Yes.
I think clearly a plethora of stories. You can bring in Spider-Man, you can bring in other Doctor Doom, other people from the Marvel universe. And I wonder if they're going to do a built-up, like if they're going to assemble a universe in the same way they did with the MCU. I wonder if some of the other series like Iron Man, Hulk, Spider-Man will be officially in canon. I know it's loosely in canon, but officially in canon.
All right, number 8 was one of mine. Selene. So the Black Queen, I think, again, probably not one. Well, it depends. I guess. No, I take that back. It's going to be like an episode of the week if she shows up. But I think tonally, she's very different than a lot of the other villains. She's a lot darker. You could do more of like a scary episode. She's got great powers. She's just very cool and doesn't get enough love.
She does not. It's so funny. Flink and I were together this weekend at 90s Con, and we were obsessing about Shannon Doherty. And for me, the clear choice of Shannon Doherty in the MCU would be Selene, or the Fox X-Men. She would be a perfect Selene. So I've been thinking about Selene a lot these last few days. I think she would be wonderful, given that if Emma is training the Hellions or being an antagonist to the New Mutants, you can bring in Selene easily there. And Sean, one of her more defining stories, it comes later, it's in the mid-aughts, but Necrosha. I mean, that would be fun if they did Necrosha. You need more dead X-Men, unfortunately, in order for the story to have impact. But I would love to have Selene officially in the universe. So by season 7, we can do Necrosha, something like that.
Or would be awesome. And this is really far out there. There was a series or a storyline where the Hyborian age, Hyborian, is that how they said? Like gets teleported to the modern day, or and like Conan's there, I'm pretty sure. They could do a really cool crossover. She's been around for ages and ages, right? Her history.
She's the oldest living human mutant, according to me, and not the Wikipedia article I just read.
Yeah, well, so you have you have 3 ancient mutants, right? Or like first mutants. It's Apocalypse and Sabanor.
Yep.
Selene and Namor, or Noamod. So, I would love a history lesson on the X-Men.
Well, there's definitely Namor's definitely not as old as Selene or Apocalypse.
No, definitely not. But it's I think it always kind of goes back that Namor is officially designated the first mutant.
Yeah.
So the way I kind of always took it was publicly Namor is acknowledged as the first mutant, but he's not technically. You have Ensabanor and Selene. And I think if I remember Necrosha, Selene predates Apocalypse. It's not mentioned there, but the way she sort of described her birth and her tribe, I don't know. It's not for us to answer, it's for them to answer. But I think Selene is a rich character. I think, to your point, Varian Lad, there's so much that you could bring to the series with a character like Selene. She was wasted in Wolverine and the X-Men. Absolutely wasted.
And she adds she's got magic too, so it adds a different element, different storylines that you could do there. So let's hope I'm not holding my breath. I don't think of all the list, her showing up is probably not one of the ones that we're gonna see.
I think we'll get a cameo. I think we'll get an Emma Hellfire backstory moment, and I think she'll be there. But I don't know if she'll be.
I'm going to agree with you on that, Hemi. I think she is going to be Emma's antagonist. Let's assume she does get a big role. She will be Emma's antagonist and sort of fill in that Emma Hellfire role after Emma's long gone. And she starts transitioning to the side of good. It depends. Do I think? No, I don't think Selene, we're going to get a great Selene subplot. But if Selene is going to be on the show, this is how I would put her at odds with Emma. I would have her, Shaw, and the rest of the Hellfire Club questioning Emma as Emma starts turning a new leaf. And they're sort of the ones, kind of like how they did in Wolverine and the X-Men.
See, I'd avoid her in the Hellfire, and I would take more of that fantasy side and have her doing magic, raising zombies, and just do a wacky, more fantasy-esque episode.
Fair enough.
All here for those one-offs.
Well,
so many one-offs that we're not actually gonna have
no plot.
Yeah.
The only thing I would want, if this was just perfect fantasy, taking out my brain, I would love a recreation of Selene and Nate, that iconic cover of X-Men where Nate is kind of laying down with his legs open and Selene is behind him grabbing his chest. I think that is probably my favorite Selene image out there. So, but I don't think that's going to happen at all.
Not a chance.
All right, number 7. I can't believe we're only on number 7.
We're burning
X-Babies. Exodus.
Yes, 100%.
I agree.
If I'm going to make a second sign at the back of my sign for Emma. I'm going to spin it, and then there's going to be my why didn't you put Exodus in the series if he doesn't show up?
What do you guys want out of this character in this show?
I need him to be really well positioned. He also is an ancient mutant. So there you go. He's part of that club with Ensabanor, Selene, and Noamod. Here's the thing. You can do whatever you want with him. We can start running wild with him. and you can lean into the religious aspects of the character, but he needs to be one of Magneto's acolytes. You have to do the acolyte story for him. It is just basic setup for him, and adapt those Asteroid M stories from the early 90s. That I know they've already done Asteroid M in the series. I'm assuming they'll pick up that thread. That's where I would have him. Maybe Magneto has been experienced an exodus from Asteroid M and Mutant Society, and we have exodus on the planet or the asteroid.
I mean, your thumbs downing. Do you want to take it?
No. I think I agree. I just don't know if, like Dayspring, you were saying, like, people who are working on the show need to love X-Men, and I think the people who love X-Men would agree with you on this. And I know a little bit about Exodius, mostly from, like, I don't know, like I know him from the House of X that I'm reading now, but mostly through just like reading articles and hearing you and Nerd Alert talk about him a lot.
Nerd Alert loves him, and so does Planet X-Men. Shout out to Planet X-Men. Wait, did you call him Exodius?
I did.
Oh my god, I love that you called him.
I was nice if they let it slide. I wasn't going to call him out on it, and you
Exodus.
Went
No,
straight
Yeah.
No. Listen, I have my own pronunciations but Exodius actually sounds so cool. I really like that instead of Exodus. Just sidebar. Exodius.
I just don't know if they'll go that hard into stuff like that. I mean, I know it's a fun list we're building here, but I just, man, oh man, I don't know if they'll lean that deep into lore.
Well, because no, they already did it with Fabian Cortez, and we know at the end of the series, Fabian Cortez is like the new vessel for Apocalypse. So Magneto needs a crazy acolyte at his side.
So I guess
I don't know if it depends on what they're gonna do. That's just
So I don't think I'd want to see the like Asteroid M acolyte storyline. They've kind of done it, and for them to do that, they need to do it properly, and that would almost need to be the overarching story, which I hope they don't do. I think the best thing they could do with him is have him wake up from his super long slumber. One of those tropes where he doesn't quite get what's going on. Villain for an episode or two. He's super, super powerful, so you can take on a whole bunch of them, and then have a bit of a redemption arc for him, and then turn him into a bit of an anti-hero that they can bring in for future episodes as a heavy hitter when they need, an ally that's not going to appear in every episode.
I like the idea of him waking up in the modern world, like kind of like a Lestat from Interview with the Vampire. I don't dislike that approach at all. And I think if the character has gained so much traction in the Krakoan age because of his messianic approach to Krakoa and everything. So I want to say I do not disagree with you guys at all on that. But I think if it is X-Men 97, if we already have the Asteroid M in place as a plot, I don't think it needs to be an overarching plot, but I think that is likely where they're going to put him, given their past with that on the animated show. Give me him, Lestat, waking up to like the sound of like Jean fainting. He's here like, good God, what's wrong with mutants here? This girl. And him sort of discovering this new world and what it means to be a mutant. And maybe he has that, maybe him and Nightcrawler like team up because they both have those religious qualities to them. I don't know. But regardless, I think Exodius is definitely going to be in the series. They would be foolish not to do Exodus. All right. So number 6 is Holocaust, although he's probably rebranded as Nemesis now. He was rebranded as Nemesis, during the Ninja Wave Toy Biz line.
Here we go again.
In canon, his original name is Nemesis as well. So, but Holocaust, Apocalypse's son. I have a lot to say on this, so you guys can go.
Okay, so I put him on the list. Let's rebrand him Nemesis. I'm pretty sure that's what they will do if they include him. Now, I'm going to pitch end of season 2. He appears as some sort of break in the multiverse to set up the Age of Apocalypse as like a herald for the Age of Apocalypse. And so they shift a little bit of how they're going to get into the Age of Apocalypse by having him appear before the whole like psycho, was it the M-Con crystal that kind of made them all go to the Age of Apocalypse?
No, bitch. Legion
No?
kills Xavier.
Oh, I don't remember.
What the fuck is wrong with
Wow,
you?
you're so fucking stupid.
I
No.
hate you so much. You are no. So the M-Cron crystal plays a large role in Age of Apocalypse, and that's sort of like the focal point to get the reality back towards.
Yes, okay.
So
That's what I'm thinking of.
originally with the Age of Apocalypse, what happens is Legion travels back in the past, wants to kill Magneto, accidentally kills Xavier, and that's what causes the Age of Apocalypse. They did a version of that in the X-Men animated series called One Man's Worth. And in that episode, Xavier dies in the past. It's their own adaptation. Well, it's not even their own adaptation of Age of Apocalypse. They were the Leewalds were the ones who came up with Age of Apocalypse first editorially with this. It's based off of It's a Wonderful Life and how the universe would look without Xavier there. Marvel editorial loved that concept when they went in to go pitch season 3, 4, and 5 for the X-Men animated series, and they brought that to the comic book. So that's how we got Age of Apocalypse there. So I think they could do a proper Age of Apocalypse, and I agree with you. I think Holocaust will be a herald for that. And he already did appear in One Man's Worth because of the lead time with animation. They were able to feed character designs to series director Larry Houston. So Larry Houston, who is a cameo queen, made sure he had Holocaust/Nemesis in the background of some of those One Man Worth shots. So that's why you get some of the more comic accurate looking characters from Age of Apocalypse, and among them Nemesis.
I think he looks so fucking cool, and I loved him in Age of Apocalypse. And this is the first one I'm like 100% on board for. I would just love to see him. I'd love to see him animated. I'd love to see him in the new style. I'd love to see him kick ass. Wherever you want to put him. You want to put him in a season 2? That's fine. You want to put him episode 1? Why not? Let's do a flashback. Let's get this shit started.
Well, and you can always just also, he exists in the 616 canon as Apocalypse's son. It was either.
Doesn't he exist because he's one of the only characters from Age of Apocalypse that made it back to the 616?
So wait, yeah. So it gets a little complicated here. Yeah. So him and Nate fight at like the cusp of the end of the world for Age of Apocalypse, and they're transported. Him and Nate are transported.
Wait, he stabs him with the M-Con crystal, doesn't he?
Yeah.
See, all right.
No, you got it.
Mental. Yeah.
Yes. After that fight, Holocaust from the Age of Apocalypse exists in the 616 universe, but also Apocalypse in 616 gets together with Famine or Pestilence, I'm forgetting which one, and has a child, and it is 616 Holocaust. So there are, in theory, two versions of Holocaust in 616, the Age of Apocalypse version and the actual version of himself that was born in that planet, in that universe.
Okay, well, I want the Age of Apocalypse one.
Yes,
Me too.
with Nate.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I've said it before. I don't think they're going to do Age of Apocalypse just yet, but I think Age of Apocalypse will come later down the line. A very proper Age of Apocalypse.
Do season 3, do the entire season as Age of Apocalypse.
And it's funny because we were, so with the Leewalds were at 90s Con, and we were talking about Age of Apocalypse and One Man's Worth. And that story just said, but they said for them what was so incredibly important for their version, for One Man's Worth, was to show this world without Xavier and how terrible it was. But the central conflict in it is that Storm and Wolverine are in love. They're married and they are soulmates. And in order to put the universe back together, they have to sacrifice their love. And they're like, yeah, this world sucks, but we are in love. And so that is their journey. That's why at the end, they kind of look at each other and they're like, we're not with this kid, Xavier, alive, we're not even supposed to exist. And they hug each other and they each turn off their time bracelets and they erase their love. That is so beautiful. And I would love for them to bring that element to their adaptation of Age of Apocalypse. I say they, but they're consultants, but Bo DeMaio, the team, and the Leewalds sort of give that foundation for Age of Apocalypse.
Listening to your last podcast, you talked about how, when you were talking about the X-Men panel on your pod, God, your podcast is more confusing than the actual X-Men lineage. Bo was saying that, you were saying that, Bo was saying that Kevin Feige was involved, which makes me question, like, so is what happens in this X universe canon to what's going to happen in the future
I don't think so.
movie franchises?
Kevin Feige was involved in
Like
that.
a what if?
Bo had to pitch Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. I guess everything now is under Kevin Feige's umbrella.
Oh, okay.
I think it's safe to say the animated series will be its
Completely
own,
separate.
yeah, completely separate. But I think Feige is probably gearing up for control of the X-Men. You know, we saw him at the Hellfire Gala in 2021. We know Deadpool 3 is coming. X-Men animated is coming. So I think the reason why we have the subtitle 97 is because we'll also get another version of an X-Men cartoon that may be MCU focused, just in the same vein that What If was, or whatever other animated projects are doing. But anyways, so we all agree we want to see Holocaust.
So number 5 was top of my list, the one that Dayspring was going to remove. Dakin.
So why Dakin?
Right. So one, this you'd have to get him in through like a loose timeline, right? We have to assume it's 90s.
Oh, we love a loose timeline here in this family.
I love how everyone's ears perked up when we were talking about Dakin and loose timelines.
Mm-hmm.
But think of like the storylines then that you could do. You were saying like, what do you want?
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are they, Mike? What are they?
Very family-friendly stories about love and companionship.
That's exactly where that's where I was going. Love, family, companionship. I think it's a great plot for Wolverine to have something that's not him pining over Jean or having a sidekick. It could show the more human side of him. He's a great villain. He's a great representation for stuff that you could do in 2023 that you probably couldn't do back in the 90s. So I would love for them to do a slippery timeline and include Dakin in the list.
I'm going to assume that Iceman is probably going to appear in this, and they'll hopefully address his LGBTQIA plus identity. And I just think of Dakin and that iconic scene from Sina Grace's run where they do like a tango. I would love if, however, we get Dakin, or they say Dakin too. There's different pronunciation for the. I don't know. I say Dakin. I'm wrong. I know for a fact I'm wrong when I say Dakin. But I would just love an adaptation of that iconic tango they do in Sina Grace's Iceman run.
I just want the Dakin you got in. Do you remember like Dark Avengers?
Oh yeah,
when he's just like such a tease to everybody and like just very the bad version of Gambit. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna tell you that people are gonna slide into my DMs now. I do not want him anywhere near Aurora. I do not stand him and Aurora. I don't know. For me, the couple just doesn't work. But I want exactly kind of what you said, like Dakin in his dark Wolverine outfit, who's like the ultimate fuckboy, fucking with everyone at the mansion. He's fucking with Iceman. He's fucking with Rogue. He's just pure chaos coming through the mansion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Laverian Lad, you kind of nailed it. I think it would be a great character to involve for Wolverine to give him something different than what I think. Obviously, he's had a lot of really great stories in the comics, but people who are only familiar with the films or the cartoon show and the longing after Jean and, something to distract him, something to get him away from that plot point, I think this would be a great way to do it. And plus, he's a great character, and I would love to see him in there, and some representation would be lovely.
And, also, there's so much that you can mine from that. And thinking of spin-offs and stuff like that, you have Wolverine, Dakin, Laura, Honey Badger. You have the Wolverine family right there. That's basically our version of the Bat family. And I would love it. I would love an episode with Laura, Wolverine, and Dakin. All three of them have had that mantle at one point. Let's see them kind of blow shit up. Let's get Honey Badger in there for comedic relief. I think it could be really fun and really well done. I don't think he'll be a season 1, but I definitely think season 3, season 4, stuff like that.
Well, let's hope He was top of my list, so I am.
That's why he's at number 5, right? Because he was the top of your
Well,
list.
he's at number 5 because I'm just a gracious friend to
That's
Dayspring
so
and said
true.
that you're,
That's so
you know,
true.
his people could go. It's his podcast, right? So he's going to put his people at the top.
Honestly, and
know.
you gave me one too, which was very kind of you. You let
Okay.
one of yours slide for me.
Flinkman's ears are burning right now. Scott's ears, Michelle's, everyone's ears are burning because I have always been such a gracious person and been like, okay, you want that person as number 1? Great. Even though you're wrong, I'll let you have it. No,
Oh my
but
God.
me and fucking Flinkman had a divorce over placement on a list.
Well,
Well, see,
I'm ready
that's
for
why.
round two.
That's why I let you.
I
put them
told
where
you you
want.
could put wherever you want. You just told me I could do it. You're just I had one request, and that was for our number 1 spot. The rest you said just do it. And
Yeah,
yes.
this is me just gaslighting him.
And yes, I did. And yes, I did put yours towards the end.
And then tried to knock off Dakin to include. Was it
Arcade.
Yeah,
Arcade.
to include Arcade.
That's
Yeah.
not my fault. That's Hammy's fault. Why are you turning on me? It's
I was
Hammy's
offended.
fault.
I would have gotten rid of one of the top 5 if I'm being honest.
Sean, if you're not realizing what's happening now, Dakin is here on the
That's
Zoom right
it.
now. It's fucking Hammy. Hammy is a Dakin, a power of X-Men.
The fucking
He's just coming up
Canadian
and
bisexual monster trying to fuck everyone over. Listen, the next
Is
one
that,
that we're
that's
about
going
to
to be on
say,
your epitaph when you die?
I hope that's my new
Canadian
Instagram
bisexual
bio.
monster trying to fuck everybody over. Yep.
Oh my god.
Oh God.
Anyway.
And on
Okay.
that, number 4.
Hammy, why don't you introduce number 4?
Oh, I'm so glad because this is my favorite X character ever that I know about, and his name is Executioner. And let me tell you a little bit about this guy. Wow, amazing. I love his, sorry, what's that say? Technological weaponry. And what else?
Is this the
His
second
infrared
paragraph from the
spectrum.
Wikipedia that I just had to read myself right
Yeah.
before the call? Yeah.
What is wrong with you people? Executioner, an iconic 90s villain, and he plays a major role in, wait for it, Executioner song.
What mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
I think it's a fair choice. I just can't believe it's on this list, and I can't believe it's number 4. That's all. That's all.
Ahead of Dakin.
Ahead of Dakin. Listen, I think we're going to be doing some of those 90s villains. Executioner is going to be on there. He was so prolific during the 90s. He even has a run in with Nate while Nate is on the run with Rogue. I don't think they'll adapt that story anytime soon, but I think they're going to be setting up the Legacy Virus, Executioner song. He is the one who assassinates Xavier. He has a plethora of weaponry at his disposal, and I think visually that can be really cool and it can be really fun. He is an obscure character. There is no doubt about it. He's one of those characters that not many people have heard of. I didn't expect many people to know about him, but I think if you're going to be doing those 90s stories, we are going to get Executioner in it. I would be a betting man on this one.
I mean, as much as I agree with Hammy that I don't really know a ton about him, having read the Wikipedia before this call, I could see
What does
that. because,
Wikipedia say? Let me see this.
I do think
there's no Wikipedia, by the way. Like the actual
Oh, yeah.
Wikipedia does not have an article for this character. They have an article for every other character.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in fairness, I can't, that X-Man issue is the last time I remember he was in the series. I think Flink and I, before our divorce, tried to do a deep dive on him. He may have appeared elsewhere, but were you saying
you could
something,
see
Sean?
how like a character like that is kind of about hunting mutants, very Sentinel adjacent. Like you could see how that easily slots into a storyline, right? And as a recurring villain that pops in and out throughout the overarching plot, especially if he's allied, let's say, with Sinister or whoever. They change it up a little bit, but you could see how that type of character trope is really easy to slide into the plot.
And if they have, let's assume again that Emma's going to play a major role here. Something's going to happen to the Hellions, or she's going to have to do that journey. She has a storyline with Executioner. Forgetting what issue
He tries
it
to break
was.
into the mansion and kill her while she's in a coma.
There you go. What issue is it? Does it say it on the Wikipedia page? I remember the cover. I think
That's not from the Wikipedia page. That's from his brain.
Thank you, Hammy. Yeah,
You're
I think it's
welcome.
Uncanny X-Men 311, 310. I think it's 310. It's a cover with let's Google it here, but it's a cover with him being blasted by Cable and Scott. Yeah, hang on. Yes, 310. And if you have you can have that as a one-off episode. He would fit perfectly in there, and at the end he like hits up Strife, he hits up Sinister, whoever, and we get a hint at what's to come with the Legacy Virus. And by the way, you want the Legacy Virus and you want this character here because it's going to guarantee who is one of the most famous X characters that died in the 90s from the Legacy Virus.
Colossus.
No, he died trying to save from the
storyline.
The storyline, exactly. But Ileana dies. And you can do that exactly what you just said. Colossus will come in, grieve. He may become an acolyte with Exodius and then come back to the side of good and then try to help find the cure for the Legacy Virus and dies. You know what I mean? Like, that is a really great plot for the character. So Exodus can be a conduit for all of that, and Executioner Song. So I want Executioner there.
Yep, he's the only one that can do that. No other characters on this list will be involved in Executioner Song at all.
Number 3, Onslaught.
Woo! I would like to say that this was my number one. When Laverian Lad messaged me and said that this is what you guys were planning on doing, that was kind of the first thing my head went to. And I think why that's so important is because whether you're a hardcore fan, whether you're a moderate fan, this is a character you know of, no matter how much research you've done in it. It's a very 90s energy to be like, these two characters, but they're like one and they're a big like monster and they're scary and spooky. And I think if we're bringing kids into this show, that's just a character that visually I think they will fall in love with and just think is so cool. It's so, I guess the word's toyetic. Like kids will see it and just be obsessed with it. And I think that character is one that resonates with me so much because like just seeing it, I was like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. And I think, Dayspring, are you the one who has no, Nerd Alert has the great story about seeing Onslaught just on a poster and never reading a comic and being like, I'm going to read every issue of this comic.
Nerd Alert loves those big monstrous type characters. And it's his story to reiterate, but I believe he said it on the podcast, he was driving as a kid and baby Nerd Alert like pokes his head out the window and sees Onslaught there in the, well, he wouldn't be a kid because Onslaught was in 96, but he sees like he was already old enough to drink. Just joking, Jason. He was stumbling home from a WeHo club. No, he was a kid. He was driving past a comic book store. He saw the Onslaught poster, stand up, whatever, and he immediately fell in love with that costume and that look. And that's sort of what was his thread, his passion for comics. That's where it began. And I have to agree with him that the mid 90s when Onslaught came out was a vibe. The story was not well received at the time. You had to be a certain kind of reader to overlook its many flaws. I love it. Onslaught for me makes perfect sense for a show called X-Men 97. There's so much you can sort of like stream into it. I mean, Xavier needs to be back on Earth in order for this to work. So they are going to have to properly set up Onslaught, but it's why Bishop is there. He's trying to solve what's going on with the X-Trader. You have all of these people coming to the mansion, and what better way to start a lot of turmoil than the founder of the X-Men, who you've been waiting for his second coming, his return, and he turns out to be an asshole. He turns out to be, this is their 5-parter. This is their Dark Phoenix saga. This is their Beyond Good of Evil. They can do the only thing, and I was thinking about this just now, they're going to have to, the entire premise, and again, they'll do their own adaptation, but just thinking about this on the face value, Fatal Attractions is where Onslaught is born when Xavier shuts down Magneto's head, and that's sort of where Onslaught comes out of it. So will they do Fatal Attractions, a version of Fatal Attractions? I don't know. So
you could see, okay, I'm going to pitch to you, elevator pitch. Xavier comes back. Magneto was helping run the X-Men. He's doing bit of a shady Magneto way of doing it that Xavier doesn't agree. You do a very quick version of that where they disagree. Xavier shuts him down. season 3, we don't get Age of Apocalypse, we get Onslaught instead.
I love that. I'm 100% sold on
Yep.
it. There's no do Onslaught, do it right, take your time with it, tell the story. And we need someone like the Leewalds and Bo to streamline this story. It is a messy story. I reread it a couple of years ago as an adult before we did Power of X-Men. It was a summer, and it took me all summer to get through everything. And there is a lot on it, but a lot does happen, and it's a lot of stuff that did shape comics at the time, and there's still some after effects from it. But give us an episode starting off with Jean doing that distress call, and I'm 100% in on it. In fact, if they even show Bishop kind of playing memories in his head and he sees some images from that Onslaught distress call that Jean does, give it. I will 100% love it.
And Tammy's point, I think, like, is there a toy of him other than the Build-A-Figure?
Yeah, we have
2 Build-A-Figures, right? 3?
So we have wait. No, we have
There's
2.
that weird Skull Toy Biz one where he's like a beetle.
So yeah, we have the Toy Biz one, then we have the Build-A-Figure.
Like, is there a Legends of him that wasn't where he had to collect all the different ones to put him together?
No.
Yeah. Wait. So we have the Toy Biz one, the 5-inch Toy Biz series one, and then for the Legends, we have the Toy Biz Build-A-Figure where he's kind of like the second phase 2. And then the third one was Red Onslaught, but when they brought back the X-Men wave, they gave you an alternate head for Onslaught, and so you can swap out Red Onslaught for Onslaught proper. So you have your 90s Onslaught. So
Okay.
only 3 figures exist of him. Sorry, I know I muddled that, but my brain was working.
But I think commercially, like Hami made a good point, like visually, he's just a very chunky, cool figure for toys, right? And you could see how they can make a lot of merchandise and stuff around that. So I think of all people on the list, if I was a betting man on which ones we'll probably definitely see within the first 3 seasons, I think Onslaught is going to show up.
I would just want it to be the proper Onslaught, story. And by the way, actually, technically, we would have 4 because there was another variant of the Onslaught. Sorry, I know I'm 4 Onslaught figures. I'm sorry. I would want Nate. He needed Nate for the series. He needed Franklin. The Fantastic Four needed to get involved. That's why I think Onslaught would be great as like the Thanos of the animated Marvel universe. I would really love that they do that. Again, I wouldn't say this was on the table had it not been called X-Men 97.
Shall we move to?
I loved it. No,
yes, we can move on. I'm sorry. Yes. Who is number 2?
Number 2 is Strife.
Yes. They have to be Strife.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
At this
There's no way
point,
they won't.
Yeah. I don't know how they'll introduce Strife. Maybe via Executioner song. Maybe he's just one of those villains. And, at the end, he'll take off his big old helmet and he'll be there. But you're doing the 90s. You got to do Strife. There's visually toy kinetic, vibes. Strife.
Yeah.
And Strife's having a minute too. He's having this Marvel Legends re-released.
That's his minute.
That's his minute. and Nerd Alert's doing him for WonderCon, isn't he?
Oh my god!
Yes.
And he's also with the Legacy virus.
That's the minute.
I think that this, out of everyone we said, I think this one has the closest opportunity of actually happening. And I think it wouldn't be too difficult. One thing I feel like with all of the characters we're talking about and all of the stories we're talking about is that I trust the creative team to retell these complicated comic book stories in a way where even if they change some major things, I really believe that they will be good and they will be told in a way that we can separate it from the comics and just say, well, this is their version of telling that story. So I think we can do something like Executioner Song, and I think it can be something that is told succinctly, and getting Strife in there, I think we don't need to dabble in the details. You could just be like, this is a clone of Cable who exists, and there you go, right? And we can slowly learn more about him later, maybe. Like we didn't know what Cable's deal was when Cable showed up. Like I remember watching that show and being like, who the fuck is this guy and why he got a cool eye? So I think you just be like, who's this silvery spiky dude? And for those of us who know, we know, and we just wait for that reveal, even if we know. I don't know. No, have I said the word no enough?
I think I was gonna say I completely agree with you in terms of like they can just do it in a new way to introduce him, and you can see if Sinister is the villain for season 1, you just have some sort of like, you know, he's got the genes from Cable or from Cyclops and Jean, and actually just makes a clone from them, and then at the end of season 1, it's kind of like this build up of like Sinister's got this plan throughout season 1, and then the plan is he's created Strife, who appears in season 2, and then it kicks off Executioner's Song with the two of them.
That actually that's a great point. Like if the genetic material he stole from Scott and Jean on their honeymoon, he used that to create his own, you know, perfect mutant child, and it's Strife, but simultaneously Jean and Cyclops have had a baby, and whether it's Rachel or Cable, and you can put them at odds. I'm going to say it's Cable because we know Cable is confirmed to be on the show. So, you know, I would love to see sort of that convoluted, messy storyline told through the lens of X-Men, you know, 97. I think he could be, if he made Madeline, he also made Strife, and there you've streamlined a very complicated story. I don't think we'll get the Ascani story. I hope we do, but I don't think we do. We will.
Just
and if you're going to do Ascani, you had to bring in Rachel.
It's too dark, man. I mean, even if you kidify it, there's still so much, like, especially with Strife, like that man does some nasty things, and I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he does such nasty things. But one of the things I am going to say, though, we had the Leewalds on last year when X-Men 97 was announced, and they said one of the things that brought them to the series was that there were no network regulations like Fox, that we had to appease a child audience, that they are very well aware that the series has endured because of adult fans. So, you know, let's see if they're, to what degree are we going to be able to see what kind of stories, mature stories we're going to get, especially if it's on Disney Plus, because they're going to want to capture that younger audience. But I have faith that they can tell more sophisticated stories and write up to children, which has been the Leewalds, Margaret Loesch, all of their mantras.
Yeah.
You don't you don't kidify a story, you write up to the kids. And that's why the X-Men series has endured so well. So fingers crossed. He was in Beyond Good and Evil. He was in the background of Beyond Good and Evil. So Strife it does exist in the X-Men animated universe.
I'm excited for number 1 because I'm just going to sit back and just not say anything.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
is that a jab at me?
Can any watchers of his podcast have any guess who's made number 1 on this list?
Honest to God.
Yes.
Number one.
Number 1.
I mean, Dayspring, this is yours. Go for it.
Madeline fucking Pryor. Because one of the first interviews we ever did when we were podcasting was with Larry Houston. And I asked Larry Houston point blank, when Jean reads Cable's mind in Time Fugitives, she sees, you know, Cyclops, you know, Nathan, and a red-haired woman. And who is that? Was that supposed to be her, or was it supposed to be Madeline Pryor? And Larry Houston confirmed that was Madeline Pryor. So if you're going to have Cable in the series, you're going to be doing Sinister, and it's called X-Men 97, and there's going to be a lot of influences from the 80s on this as well. You have to do Madeline Pryor. I'm sorry. Madeline Pryor comes in, blows shit up in New York, literally unleashes the inferno, mutant, you know, PR is a nightmare, and Sinister wins at being the bad guy. Boom. There. You're welcome.
I mean, I'm gonna no. I will support it, and I'll tell you why. So you were saying on the other episode you want Havoc to show up. So we're not doing the heroes that we want to cameo, but love Havoc to show up, and then have Madeline Pryor come in and Goblin Princify him for an episode.
Oh yeah,
and I'm on board.
Listen, she hates Cyclops so much she is gonna get his baby brother and put him in a gimp suit and parade him around New York
like
City.
It's Folsom, Berlin. Yeah.
But I think
no, they're not gonna do that on Disney.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a streamlined version of that story. I think because Val Cooper and Forge are there, I think and X Factor already exists in this universe. I think Alex Summers is going to be in the series. He's going to have a subplot with Cyclops. Madeline, however, she may or may not work into the story, and then that's where you'll get Madeline and Havoc, and then you'll get all of New York Inferno. Maybe with the legacy virus as well. I don't know. I mean, again, this is just wishful thinking. I'm just curious how they're going to be able to do everything. But I think, again, I'm going to stand by my Strife or Madeline Pryor. We're getting one of those if you're doing the 80s, 90s. There's no way, especially with Sinister ties.
So who do you think it's going to be? Put your money. Is it going to be Strife or is it going to be Maddie?
I want to say Maddie. I hope it's Maddie. That is just pure speculation. I'm hoping it's Maddie. Let's see where they go with it. I mean, it just depends on their approach. We know, again, I think after how Bo was talking on the X-Men 60th anniversary panel, I'm going to say Maddie. But I don't want it to be a situation where Jean has been swapped out and no one notices. That would just take me out of the story. I've said that already before. I want maybe Maddie to be a villain that Sinister creates and she's ready to wreak havoc. Maybe she doesn't have a relationship with Sinister. Maybe she's more focused on unleashing the Inferno, opening up, Limbo, and that's sort of where her story goes, her and Strife, and then she captures Havoc along the way. Whatever, how you boys were saying before, how they're going to streamline that story and put their own spin on the lore. I'll be here for it as long as it's well done.
I feel that way. I feel like if I trust this team to do it. I have no particular interest in seeing her in the show, but what I do love about her is how much people love her and the passion for. I know.
This is the most Canadian answer.
Dayspring excluded.
You basically just said "bless
else.
Your heart" to me, which Flink one time said "bless your heart," and I was like, "You just told me to fuck off."
No, but I mean, like, I do love there are people who this is one of those characters who people get so passionate about that I feel like there's enough fandom for her to tell a really good story and not want to let people down. And it's a character that is so convoluted that they would have to carefully craft a story and take the time to do that. And I think that could pay off more than another character like Strife. They could just put Strife in there and we'd be like, he's really cool looking and badass and good at fighting, but they can't really do that with Madeline. So I think if they bring her in, the story would be better with her. So I can get behind the character. I wouldn't be excited, but I think they would do something amazing with her and I would enjoy that.
I just hope, Inferno is notorious in the 80s, especially among X-Men stans. When Maddie sort of takes his back seat because Jean is back and Cyclops leaves her, I mean, that was a defining moment for Cyclops. Everyone was like, you are an asshole. Like, this is a horrible person. If you want to divorce a character from that baggage, kind of modernize the storytelling, streamline it a little bit. Again, she's just a clone of Jean that was created. Her and Strife are clones that were created, and they're now being let loose. How about that? That's going to be my answer. It's going to be both of them. I think Sinister is going to have a plan A and a plan B, and I think plan A is going to be something like the Legacy virus and Strife. And then Maddie will be plan B, and Maddie will be like, oh, absolutely not. I'm no one's plan B. And she'll be able to cause her own havoc, and we get the Inferno as a result of that. So maybe that's how they'll do it, and we'll have those two plots kind of like coming together in the finale.
So season 1, Executioner of Song, season 2, Inferno, ends in Age of Apocalypse, mini stories with Arcade and Mojo scattered in between, Dakin throughout, Exodius,
Exodius is going to be there.
What?
So those are our top 10. One of the characters I was thinking about during yoga, because you were texting me, Sean, I was like, wait, should we add someone else in there? But I don't think this will be fair to add the character on the list, would be Morph. And we know Morph is going to be on there. Morph in the past was antagonistic towards the X-Men, but I think they may struggle with some kind of PTSD, with everything that happened with Dyne and Sinister, but I don't think they are going to be antagonistic at all for
they've kind of already done that plot with him. They don't really need to make him come back and be bad and traumatized.
I agree.
They've already done it, so I'm not sure.
But to address that, because Morph is on the team. Morph has been revealed to be an X-Men 97. So I don't think where I would think Emma is going to be antagonistic, I don't think Morph is going to be antagonistic.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Val Cooper will be antagonistic. I think X Factor, Val Cooper will be antagonistic as they were in the original series, but I think they'll have a better relationship. I think it'll be a different kind of antagonizing.
You know, it's probably we should have said too right from the beginning, because people might like have heard the list and go like, "Okay, you've missed some very obvious people."
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was gonna
As someone who had no part of this, I was like, "What?"
Bitch, I didn't put in Dakin.
No, but we said we weren't gonna put in people that appeared in the promo image, right? So we didn't put Emma, we didn't put Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah.
Was Mystique in the promo image?
No, Mystique wasn't, but yeah, Mystique, Shaw, Emma. Who else was in there? Val
well, it felt like
Cooper.
you guys weren't putting in a lot of the obvious characters that were heavily in the first incarnation.
Yeah.
Like no Juggernaut, no Sabretooth, no.
Yeah, I
Right,
feel safe.
because-
It's safe to say those characters can and will appear.
Yeah.
You know,
It's who's
Callisto.
new. Yeah.
Callisto's already been there. You know, I think those are all obvious characters that we know are there. We're trying to think for this list. We really wanted to think outside of the box and
Right.
get some of those more obscure 90s characters like Executioner.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I saw the list, I was like, okay, that must be the energy they're going for. They just want to show off their cool knowledge and not say Sabretooth.
But
It's
Sabretooth
the
can fit
hipster
with
list.
So Sabretooth can fit in with the Marauders. I'm here for again. Sinister is perfect to destroy the X-Men. If you're telling me the X-Men are having the best goodwill they've ever had, what do? You hire a hit team to kill the Morlocks. You hire someone to attack New York, and you hire someone to unleash a pandemic. Boom, that's it. That sets human mutant relations back to the Stone Ages. That's it. You're done. That is what I will say. Again, I'm going to stick by my guns. Executioner Song, Marauders, and Inferno, and whichever characters appear in there, I think it will be fair game for them, or however they want to adapt it.
Let's see what happens.
Sorry. All right. What do you guys have coming up?
Oh God. Not much going on right now. I just got back from Emerald City Comic Con, which was incredible. So now I'm taking a bit of a con break because I need to get a lot of work done. But I got a lot of new costumes coming up. None I really feel comfortable talking about right now until they're at least 40% finished so that I know I'm actually going to do them.
Wait, have you ever done an X-Villain?
An ex-villain? No.
You have to.
No.
You're going to do it for MCM, right? When you guys fly over.
You've canonized it.
Yeah, I've canonized it.
Yes. No, I don't cosplay as villains because I just don't feel I can relate to them because I'm so sweet and kind.
You're not. You literally just said thank you for the first time earnestly to me today. You're such a shady cunt. No.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
You're such
Hoping
a
to
Miranda.
get to New York Comic Con, maybe. Probably San Diego Comic Con.
All that fun stuff.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Sean.
So, like me, not WonderCon this weekend.
No.
I'm like
I'm
the
so
only person.
sad.
Feel like the only person in the world that's not going to it. But it's a little far for a getaway from London for a weekend. So it'll be MCM in May, and then New York Comic Con in October.
Yeah, and we also April 2nd, you both are going to be back on the podcast for a very special.
Oh, are you dropping as a
Second
spoiler?
Oh my God.
Yeah, we can announce it here for the first time, and we've
All right.
teased to it. Sean, it's your playground. You talk.
Cool. So we are doing episode 2 of the X-Men D&D, following the misadventures of the students played by Dayspring, Demanda Martini, Michelle, and Justin. And Hami will be playing the newest student coming into the shenanigans. So stay
Woo!
tuned for that.
He's going to wreak havoc throughout the
Oh my
entire
God.
team. You would be a great Dakin, though, if you can spray paint your hair black or whatever you want. You'd be an excellent Dakin.
I do agree. I don't know why I haven't done it. I can't disagree.
Here at Power of X-Men, we're going to continue our con coverage. We're going to be doing WonderCon this weekend. I'm sad both these boys can't make it. We're going to be doing Dragon Con the weekend afterwards, and I'll have to.
No, not Dragon Con.
Oh, not Dragon Con, MegaCon. I'm sorry, MegaCon. Thank you, Sean, for correcting me. We're going to be doing MegaCon, and I'm going to have to get back really quickly because on Sunday we're doing our D&D episode. We have a couple interview requests out, some with actors, some with talent. The scheduling is my fault. I'm so sorry, insert celebrity name. I'm just too busy to do it that day. But we are planning a reunion episode. Flink and I wanted to do a reunion episode with a certain cast, and we're just waiting on one more cast member to be able to join. And yeah, we have a lot of great interviews on the horizon, and Power X-Men's coming along. We're very happy, and we love having you guys here.
We love being here. And
Yes.
we will be back with other things in the future.
Hit us up at Power of X-Men. Give us your feels on who should be in X-Men 97. I'm Dayspring at Power of X-Men.
I am Hammy73 on Instagram and other places.
And I'm Sean, aka Latvian Lad, on Instagram.
All right, we'll see you all next week.